some stuff about the Crusades. It all started when the Crusades were betrayed. Muslims, Jews, and Christians alike fighting each other day and night. The holy wars, they began when the Muslims took over the Holy Land. There were never any apologies, caused everyone to fight for centuries. So for centuries, the war raged on because everybody wanted Jerusalem. 1076, before the First Crusade, the Seljuks took over the Muslim Empire and threw some shade. They expanded into the Muslims' dirt and sand, then eventually took their empire and their Holy Land. So the Seljuk Turks, that's how they became a part of the 8 major events in the gruesome Crusades.
1095 in Clermont, France, Seljuks threatened Constantinople in France. The First Crusade was a holy war called by the Pope who promised all who fought heaven and more.
First Crusade in 96, 33 got into the mix. The Crusaders conquered Anatolia, it was pretty cruel, then took back the Holy Land and established Christian rule.
The Second Crusade in 1146, they wanted to take back the Holy Land, so here's the mix. In Damascus with the Muslim Crusaders from Germany and France fought to gain back what was theirs. The Holy Wars, they began when the Muslims took over the Holy Land. There were never any apologies, which caused everyone to fight for centuries. So the centuries, the war raged on because everyone wanted Jerusalem.
The Third Crusade, 1189, Muslims, Crusaders, and the King of Palestine. Muslims wanted to retake the Holy Land. After fighting for years, they signed a treaty and left to stand.
In 1212, it was the Children's Crusade. Some didn't make it or went into slave trade, or just disappear away from the blaze, so that's what happened in the Children's Crusade.
1291, the final crusade, Muslims retake the Holy Land and established control of the reign. Muslims killed the Christians, they had no pity when they took back the final Christian Crusader city.
In 1492, there were a bunch of fellas, Jews, Muslims, and Queen Isabella, taking back their territory, causing a dilemma. The Holy Wars, they began when the Muslims took over the Holy Land. There were never any apologies, which caused everyone to fight for centuries. So for centuries, the war raged on because everyone wanted Jerusalem.
Thank you so much.
Classic Speeds.
It's the J Bros.
Jay-Z and Jerry here, and what we're going to teach you is very clear.
The Crusades were an effect of greed, all the fighting and death, there was no need.
Seljuk Turks, they wanted more power, and they did that by making their enemies cower. Crusades, there were 8 crusades. The Christians, they went to their brother's aid. In 1096, it was time to take the Holy Land, but in 1147, they failed to execute their master plan.
1070s, the Seljuks take Jerusalem. The Seljuks, a nomadic group from Central Asia, they began to move out so they could start an invasion. They started to expand into the Muslim Empire, and they did it to expand and gain more power.
In 1095, the Seljuk threat started to thrive. The Emperor of Constantinople's confidence took a dive. Pope Urban II, who was asked to help, called a meeting. It was heartfelt. Said the people that would help would go to heaven, so amount of help did the opposite of lessen.
1069, the First Crusade, people fought and people prayed. But the Crusaders, they fought unafraid. The Crusaders fought on horse and slayed with blades. Then they slaughtered the surviving soldiers, or even worse, they sold them as slaves.
1146 to 1148, Muslims took Edessa, which was a great state. Then they went to Damascus and Anatolia, maybe gave the French and Germans melancholia.
Crusades, there were 8 crusades. The Christians, they went to their brothers' aids. In 1096, it was time to take the Holy Land, but in 1147, they failed to execute their master plan.
Get closer.
1189, the Third Crusade, Saladin united the Muslim Empire with no aid. Then they captured Jerusalem with a raid. Later, King Richard led the Third Crusade, but they couldn't go farther, so they stopped in place. After both signed a treaty, they would determine their fate.
1212, the Children's Crusade, tried to take the Holy Land. The Muslims were swayed. Fought by poor people and children, they were unsuccessful again.
1291, Siege of Acre. The Muslims take the land from the Christian people. And the war is not over and it's not yet peaceful. After more fighting, the Muslims take Acre. And that is where the fighting stops, right in place.
The Reconquista, 1492, Christians pulled through. Relied on the Inquisition, were sent on Spain's volition.
As the sun sets
on the Holy Land, the Christians were the last to stand.
With no troops and army to command, the Muslim had to show their hands.
And that's all you win.
Yo, it's the close. Me, Little Doe, back here again with that nice flow. Today we're going to talk about Christian bros, how they tried taking the Holy Land from the Muslim foes. Crusade it 1 time.
Kinda driven.
Crusade it 2 times.
There ain't no chicken.
Crusade it 3 times.
You're gonna need an intermission. Take it back to 76, when all them Turks were thrown in the mix. They wanted Jerusalem, so into the city, there they go. Why? Everybody knows, because they wanted to start the Holy Wars.
1095, so now the Turks are closing into the Christian vibe. And the Empire calls the Pope when the city is in their sights. So the Pope calls for the knights and crusaders to the fight for the religion of Christ.
The Crusaders for the win, and the Turks have been doubt from within. But those fighters made a mistake. They didn't think the Turks would go and retake the city. Yeah, bad time to vacate.
Of retaliation, Turks take back the nation. Yeah, the Holy Land reorganization unites and bands army that takes command. Crusade it 1 time.
You're kinda driven.
Crusade it 2 times.
There ain't no chicken.
Crusade it 3 times.
You're gonna need an intermission. Saladin leads the charge. Crusades are all at large. Turks take Acre, but need time to recharge. So a treaty is signed, the Turks and Christians combined in Jerusalem. But of course they find a way to start another war out from behind.
Thousands of poor people for the power of disgusting evil, all for the Holy Land's retrieval, died for the holy steeple, because 1212 was only one big flashback, only controlled by the so-called chosen people.
Muslims push the attack. Acre they have taken back. So far their conquest is on track. They are known as the megalomaniacs. They hunger for land like crackerjacks.
Christians wanted to come back. It was 1492. They just got smacked because they tried to attack, and it took them on a backtrack because it was as risky as playing blackjack. Crusade it 1 time.
You're kinda driven.
Crusade it 2 times.
You ain't no chicken.
Crusade it 3 times.
You're gonna need an intermission. Remember the name, Ben the Pro, cause I ain't lame and neither is Little Doe. Hope you had fun though. It's all about them Crusades, yo. We out. We out.
Hey, it's Shazy here. Our rapping skill is on the top tier.
Our job is to tell you all about the Crusades, a battle that lasted through many decades.
From the 10th to 15th century, Jerusalem was a monument in history. Z is going to tell you what went down on that holy land that's now renowned.
Christians and Muslims were at war. They both wanted Jerusalem more and more. This war soon became a holy crusade, and the Holy Land was their danger stage. There was constant fighting for this land, and nothing would stop it from getting out of hand.
In 1076, the Celtics wanted to expand, thus taking control of the Holy Land. They expanded their land to gain power, to make their opponents scream and cower. They then take control of Jerusalem and all converted into Islam.
In 1096, the Celtics came here to drive the Muslims out of the clear. The emperor called for the Pope. Constantinople needed some hope. They were in need of thousands of crusaders and gathered everyone from peasants to traders.
The First Crusade, 1096 to 99, Anatolia, Jerusalem, and Palestine. 30,000 crusaders take back the Holy Land and establish Christian rule in their command. Most of the crusaders then returned home, but the ones that stayed back took control.
There then was a Second Crusade lasting from 1146 to 48. Muslims wanted back the Holy Land. This is their turn to take a stand. They take Edessa and become invaders, and then defeat the French and German crusaders.
From the 10th to 15th century, Jerusalem was a monument in history. Z is going to tell you what went down on this holy land that's now renowned.
Christians and Muslims were at war. They both wanted Jerusalem more and more. This war soon became a holy crusade, and the Holy Land was their danger stage. There was constant fighting for this land, and nothing would stop it from getting out of hand.
The Third Crusade, 1189 to 92, Muslims on Albania against King Richard and his crew. The Muslims want to take back the Holy Land and recapture Jerusalem in their demand. King Richard and the Crusaders capture Acre. They can now be considered takers.
Holds up in 1212, there was kind of a twist. Poor people and children were called in to assist. After the two sides fought and fought, some of the kids were taken, or in other words, caught. Most of them were never seen again. Some were to be slaves and a lot were dead.
In 1291, the Muslims fought back and tried to reestablish control with an attack. The Muslims ended up taking back Acre, the land that the Christians decided to capture. But wait, this battle wasn't the last one. There was one more invasion yet to come.
The Reconquista happened in 1492 between the king, queen, Muslims, and Jews. The Christians decided to slowly take reign. Soon they ruled over Granada and Spain. The Muslims and the Jews are forced to flee unless they convert to Christianity.
From the 10th to 15th century, Jerusalem was a monument in history. Z is going to tell you what went down on this holy land that's now renowned.
Christians and Muslims were at war. They both wanted Jerusalem more and more. This war soon became a holy crusade, and the Holy Land was their dangerous stage. There was constant fighting for this land, and nothing would stop it from getting out of hand.
Hope you learned something new, because we won't be back anytime soon. Jay-Z is done and we are out. This Crusades rap is over without a doubt.
Hey, it's Livy C and Katie V coming to you with some super facts about a time in history we call the Crusades. 8 holy wars, known as the Crusades. The Silk Road was blocked to halt the trades. 1076 to 1492, the Crusades were fought for me and for you.
Let's throw it back to 1076. The Muslims and the Turks got into the mix. Jerusalem in the Muslim Empire, the first defeat wasn't very fire. The expansion of territory and power took a lot longer than 1 hour.
Holy wars, they began when the Muslims took the Holy Lands. Pope Urban wanted them back, so in 1095 he called for an attack. For all who fought, a promise into heaven. This battle was 2 years before 1097. Seljuks threatened Constantinople. This combat was fought to keep the people hopeful.
First Crusade fought against the Turks, allowed other people to act like jerks. To take back the Holy Lands and Christian rule, these Crusaders were very cruel. 1096 to 1099, Anatolia, Jerusalem, and Palestine. Killed most surviving fighters who were sold into slavery. All of the warriors fought with bravery.
The Second Crusade was a total loss. Christians were defeated by a new Muslim boss. Muslim crusaders from Germany and France. The Christians gave victory one last glance. 1146 to 1148, the Christians awaited their long due fate. This took place in Edessa and Damascus. Why it took so long, you shouldn't ask us.
8 holy wars, known as the Crusades. The Silk Road was blocked to halt the trades. 1076 to 1492, the Crusade was fought for me and for you. 1189 to 1192, Palestine, Jerusalem, and Acre too. Finally, both sides signed a peace treaty to keep all the people from getting needy. Muslim crusaders, Salah al-Din, King Richard I, the Lion-Hearted. Christians, pilgrims were allowed in a mostly Muslim Turk crowd.
The Muslims gave it one last chance to get the city in their hands. 1291, fought in Acre. This crusade looked good on paper. Muslims take the last Christian city. The final crusade wasn't very pretty. Re-established control of the region. All these battles fought for a reason.
The Reconquista, the battle was fought in the southeast. In 1492, the Christians finally won. It only took forever to get this done. The Iberian Peninsula and Granada, the final battle caused a lot of drama. Muslims, Jews, and King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, and her plan.
8 holy wars, known as the Crusades. The Silk Road is blocked to halt the trades. 1076 to 1492, the Crusades were fought for me and for you.
I'm feeling a lot about the Crusades because we won't be back. It's making me excited now.
About to rap to you all about the Crusades.
Each note will get you ready to learn. This is so good, your stomachs will churn.
Crusades were called the Holy War, where the Muslims kicked open the Christians' door.
But then it became really out of hand. The Muslim Turks took over the Holy Land.
Seljuks Turk tried to expand into Muslim. It took control of Jerusalem. So it happened in 1076, where the Turks and Jerusalem didn't want to mix.
The Seljuks threatened Constantinople in 1095. They did it because the riches were what they thrived. They got within 100 miles of Constantinople, so the Pope called for a council of nobles.
The First Crusade was in 1096 to 99, where 30,000 crusaders took over Palestine. This conquered Anatolia and Jerusalem, where it took every fighter and near killed all of them.
The Second Crusade began in 1146. It took place in Edessa and Damascus. The Crusades were from France and Germany were coming to take over the land of the Holy.
Crusades were called the Holy War, where the Muslims kicked open the Christians' door.
But then it became really out of hand. The Muslims tried to go over the Holy Land.
The Third Crusade started in 1189. The Crusade kept the Akbari and didn't try to be benign. But now the Muslims wanted to retake the Holy Land. They recaptured Palestine and Jerusalem. Bam!
Ooh. The Children's Crusade occurred in 1212 AD. Many don't make it or are sold into slavery. It was made up of many poor people and children. To take over the land was the goal of the Christians.
The Muslims take the final crusade in 1291. The Muslims take back Acre with the help of some guns. It took over all of the Christian cities, and the Muslims felt no pity.
The Reconquista started in 1492. It contained the kings, Muslims, and the Jews. The Christians wanted to take the region back. They stayed very focused and were on track.
Crusades are called the Holy War, where the Muslims kicked open the Christians' door.
But then it became really out of hand. The Muslims started to go over the Holy Land. Too bad J Money and B Cash gotta leave today. If you know all of you wish we could say.
So we hope you liked our rap about the Crusades, because we really don't want to take this test. Hey!
Hey!
Classics Beats.
You already know what's going on.
Lauren.
Will Shems, Alex and Mayunk, back at it with the rap.
What do you know of the Crusades? Many people were killed by others' blades. Yeah, you know it was sad. It all started with a group of nomads.
The Seljuk Turks attacked Jerusalem, ready to take its land. They came from Central Asia, and the invasion went as planned.
The Pope was really pissed and tried to show his fist. He got many people to enlist. He didn't even have to insist.
The Second Crusade was from 1146 to 48, and for the Muslims it was not too late to reorganize themselves and take Edessa, then defeat the Germans and the French. They were not stressors.
Crusades,
Crusades, the Holy Wars. Crusades, Crusades, the Holy Wars. Crusades, Crusades, the Holy Wars. Crusades, Crusades, the Holy Wars.
Third Crusade, 1189 to 92. It was a case of deja vu. Muslims versus Christians, yet another war of religions.
In 1212 was a crusade that was unorganized. It was a poor French and Germans, some were undersized. The goal was to take back the Holy Land. These peasants and children failed, though they knew it was at hand.
At last there was a Reconquista in 1492. The Christians took back the Iberian Peninsula too. Using Inquisition to expel Muslims and Jews, Ferdinand took Granada. The Christians did not lose. Crusades, Crusades, the Holy
Wars. Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Classics Beats. Lauren.
Drop it.
Crusades to begin. Muslims taking over the Holy Land. Christianity was dominating through the Mediterranean shore.
10,000 Europeans under command, going off to fight for the Holy Land. Crusades spend the end of the Middle Ages. Changes from these wars turn history's pages. 10th century, 1076. Central Asia to the Muslim Empire. The Seljuks take Jerusalem. Land and power came along.
It's 1095 AD. The Byzantine Empire is in need. Pope Urban's calling me like I'm his one and only last hope.
It's 1096 to 1099. Taking it back to the Holy Land. Establishing Christianity, conquering the sacred lands.
Muslim crusaders from Germany and France. The Second Crusade was a total disaster. Muslims now unbeatable masters. Upset Christians swore revenge.
10,000 Europeans under command, going off to fight for the Holy Land. Crusades spend the end of the Middle Ages. Changes from these wars turn history's pages. The Third Crusade, 1189 to 1192. Muslims coming for a fight left King Richard the Lion-hearted, but this was not that end.
1212, a children's crusade. Pawns in a game, not victims of chance. A game of charades, all for a children's crusade.
It's 1291 AD, taken back by the Holy Land. 1A Creed, the final city, Muslims conquered without pity.
The conquest isn't over, slowly taking back the land. Europeans make a plan to take it back for the Christians. 10,000 Europeans under command, growing up to fight for the Holy Land. Crusades at the end of the Middle Ages. Changes from these wars turn history's pages.
Crusades were important. 8 wars in total, brought an end to feudalism, changing Europe forevermore.
Also known as Juice and Shobo Kim, teaching about the Crusades. Hang on to your seats before you get blown away from our amazing rap. But first, we'll give you some background knowledge.
Hope to capture the homeland from the Muslim Turks. For years they were tried, but nothing seemed to work. Pope Urban II responded to Byzantium's request with a rousing speech in Clermont, France. Urban's speech launched the first of the several crusades, but none of them were getting paid.
Christians versus Muslims in the Middle East. Sadly, the populations were being decreased. Year by year, they tried over and over. As centuries passed, they noticed they couldn't take over. 1492 ceased the wars. The whole place was theirs, including the outdoors. Sorry for all the yaps. Here comes the real rap.
The Crusades was a giant fight to take back the land that the Muslim army had. All the peasants and knights joined the fight. From 1076 to 1492, the Crusades went on until they all flipped.
The 10th century in 1076 made the Seljuk Turks bring a bag of tricks to expand the power and territory and give them much of the glory.
In 1095, the Seljuk Turks, Emperor of Constantinople, started to work. In France, the emperor appealed the Pope for help getting the nobles and leaders to address oneself.
Let's take it back to 1096 when the First Crusade was put in the mix. They tried to take back the Holy Land. They conquered Palestine,
Anatolia,
Jerusalem.
1146 started the Second Crusade. Germany and France is where the Muslims began and tried to take back the Holy Land. In Edessa and Damascus where things started to press, but all in all, they took it all over and the others would ball.
The Crusades was a giant fight to take back the land that the Muslim army had. All the peasants and knights joined the fight.
From 1076 to 1492, the Crusades went on until they all flew.
1189 began a third crusade. All of a sudden, King Richard comes in and raids. Finally, both sides signed the peace treaty, but are still being needy. Capturing Acre, but failed with Jesus' home. Now the pilgrims are allowed in Jerusalem.
The Children's Crusade, poor children would fight to retake the Holy Land, but it wasn't all planned. In the end, most didn't make it out and couldn't take over the land. Many doubt the accuracy of this final crusade, and it was all thought to be played.
In 1291, the Muslims took from the Christians, and stealing from them was a part of their ambition. The Muslims take from the final Crusader city, and they all left in a big witty.
1492 is the end of it all. Christians start to take away from the Muslims and create their own kingdom. Muslims, Jews, kings, queens, all part of the act in order for them to distract. The Crusades was a giant fight to take back the land that the Muslim army had. All the peasants and knights joined the fight. From 1076 to 1492, the Crusades went on until they all flew. The Crusades was a series of religious wars. The Christians and Muslims started to secure control. 1096 to 1291, the battles continued on and on. The bloody, violent conflicts propelled. Soon everyone took part and decided to rebel. All in all, the Christians won and completely took it all.
Thanks guys for listening to our up. Hope you paid attention because we ain't coming back.